Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My channel is about marriage to a woman from the Philippines. I want to talk about how to make future plans with a Filipina. This is very important. And because, yeah, you can marry a Filipina, but then what? How about the long range? It's clearly important to have basic knowledge of the Filipina you want to marry, or maybe have married, and it's important to have commonality in important areas, and having good relationship skills, of course, is a must. However, if a couple aren't on the same page for their future plans, that needs to be worked on. Today, this will be the first of 3 videos, future plans with a Filipina. There's really a lot to say, and be ready to let me know if or when you began to make long-range plans with your Filipino wife. Or have you talked about that with your Filipina girlfriend? I've heard it said that a team is only as strong as its biggest weakness. And if a foreigner marries a Filipina, they may have a lot going for them, but if their weakness is their future together and future plans being the same, well, that would spell trouble. So please subscribe here and be ready to leave a comment. I think that it's important to, like I tell my wife, always think 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead. And I guess I don't see why that would not be something that everybody would do, especially with relationships. It's easy to just get married and say, oh, that's great, I feel so good, and then not think about the future. But how many couples end up not even having a future as the relationship gets short-circuited due to any number of things, one of which could be future plans not being in sync? Naturally, when you marry a woman from the Philippines, it could be a while before this topic of future plans even comes up and becomes urgent. I'm not sure exactly how important it is to talk about that when in the dating stage, because you're usually focusing more on the present and just getting to know them, the immediate future. It's possible you haven't thought that far ahead, or even should. My wife and I, and we've been married 10 years, almost 10 years, and we didn't talk about that at all when we got married. I wanted us to focus on our roles that we each have in the relationship, in the marriage, our responsibilities to each other. And if we weren't on the same page there, I figured we wouldn't have any future to discuss anyway. Future plans would certainly include all the elements of retirement years, normally for the foreigner, but are for mainly down the line 5, 10 years or more. It's possible if the man is old enough, the near future and the distant future could be fairly close together, as he may not have much of a future left. I have in mind being able to be married to my wife for 10 or 20 years, and we're almost halfway there, just because that's perhaps more likely because of my age. And here are some things to think about that are especially true of the foreigner married to a Filipino when it comes to planning your future. And we'll talk today here about being willing to step out of your comfort zone after you're married regarding your future. If a Filipina has already made the move to leave the Philippines to be with a foreign man in his country, she has already shown a willingness to step way out of her comfort zone, way out. She has temporarily, at least, left everything behind. I find it remarkable a Filipina would be willing to marry a foreigner so far away from her family, in my case, 9,800 flight miles, to be able to help her family at the same time be a good wife to him. I don't believe a Filipina is likely to move that far away to another country just to end up going through the motions. At some point, I suspect she will want to talk about the future with a Filipina, maybe not right away. Maybe you want to move to the Philippines for your future. That's what you have in mind. Save money, warmer weather. That's where she's from, but maybe she doesn't. Maybe she likes the thought of being in Australia or the United States. How about children? That's both a short-term plan and a future plan, because if she doesn't have children, I think there's about 100% chance she's going to want children right away. And even if that happened, you would have almost two decades of being a father with that child. So that's a long range plan for sure that you, I think, should talk about seriously before you get married. For example, well, make sure you're both on board with it, and the foreigner um, and the Filipino. What happens if that doesn't happen? How's that going to affect her? I'm sure she won't like it, of course. And in order to stay together and grow together, future plans must match up. And this doesn't happen by accident. And personally, I think the husband is going to have to make most of the adjustments. And that's the takeaway here. Before I married and after I married, I didn't really contemplate too far ahead with my wife and talk about our future. It just came out of the normal flow of life, if it came up at all. Do you know what would require you to step out of your comfort zone marrying a Filipina? Because to be married long term, there's going to be things that you're going to have to accept. And the more things that you can accept and you plan together, I think the better. And you really never know what's going to happen when you get married. She may come up with long-range plans that you didn't discuss. Maybe she thinks you're going to be all in favor of it, but you're not. So while you're dating someone and you're getting to know them and who their family is and what their family members' names are and where she went to school and what her immediate plans are in your country, that's all great. And getting her settled in your country has been a topic of many videos of mine, as it's very important to be prepared for that. But once that settling in takes place, what about long range? I never thought I would ever get in a plane by myself, travel to a country that far away, marry a woman I had known for about 5 weeks, and get married in 54 days. That was kind of way out there. I thought I'd marry somebody in my zip code. But I really had to do something drastic and out of my comfort zone. And that hasn't stopped, really, after 10 years almost. She might want a house. Maybe you're living in an apartment. Maybe you're living in a certain house. And she says, well, for my long term, I want a different house, bigger house, smaller house, a house in a different neighborhood. And that's a long-term plan in that, you would be living there yourself. Maybe you're dead set against moving. Now, I could add here that if you're aware of the danger of getting scammed and still found a good Filipino marry, then you are already able to take some risk in order to accomplish something you believe was important. So you can do that. As far as future plans for the Filipina, the same mindset may need to be activated again in making plans with your Love Beyond the Sea. So I want to know what you think about this future plan idea. I have more in this in a couple of videos. I just try to make as many videos as I can to reach as many men as I can where they are at whatever stage of the relationship they are in. And that has been before you meet somebody, before you even do any webcams, talking to them for the first time, noticing red flags, getting married, preparing for them, trying to get off to a good start, dealing with that first blow, figuratively speaking, and how to make the marriage last. That's really what it's all about for my channel, how to have a lasting marriage with a woman from the Philippines. So stay tuned for the next part on future plans with a Filipina here on Love Beyond the Sea.